join me in saluting the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. First, we're changing things up a little bit in the way that we do things. First, we're going to have a roll call.
Supervisor Moss?
Here.
Councilman Berlin?
For the record.
Here.
Superintendent Keating?
Here.
Attorney Bastoni?
Present.
Councilman McGivern?
Here.
Councilman Frazier?
Here.
Councilman Walsh?
Here.
Okay, any recusals or...
I would like to recuse myself on item number 10.4, UVFDU sign on Route 82 consultant fees.
Great, okay, thank you very much. You're excused from that discussion.
Okay.
And now I'd like to make a motion. We go into executive session. We have to talk about a personnel issue. It shouldn't be very long, but we need to do it in the executive session. So may I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's do that quickly and we'll get right back. Okay, so we had a quick executive session about a personnel issue. We resolved it, but there was no vote taken. But I think we're in good shape. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. So now we'll get on with our regular order of business. The minutes?
Minutes, make a motion to approve the minutes as written for January 16th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, let me give the supervisor's report. I would like to go through some numbers, everybody's favorite. But I do want to go through some numbers, and I have some things to give to town board members. First of all, since we have some new town board members, I just want to make sure that you all you will expect to get every month a list of the claims, the audited claims, the abstract. So you'll get that. I think you got that a week or two ago before I went away. You got this. So you'll get a list of everything that's the claims that are submitted to the town to pay for both general fund and highway. And that was on email. You will get the building department report that comes in every month. It's required by law by our building department. You'll get a copy of that, which I'm just repeating just to make sure you can see it first in case you didn't print it out. You get a list of all the deposits that are made for both the general fund and the highway fund for the month. Okay. And you will also start getting something that was interesting that actually came up at the Association of Towns meeting, and that is the cash report. So, which I'll go over in just a minute. You also get a cash flow report. I have it right here. You also get a cash flow report in the mail, in the email that looks like this. And you've got yours right there. So I'm going to take a minute. This is really the supervisor's report. The supervisor's required every month to give a financial report. And basically what we have at the end, I have a cash flow report I'll pass out to you every month. And one of the things in this particular month, you can see we brought total cash in $133,598. We paid $243,686 in bills. But our year-to-date cash in, or our revenue versus our budget, is at 153%. And our expenses are at 62%, which is right where you want them. You want to be under on your expenses and way over on your revenue. And I wanted to mention that we were at 153%. We had this phenomenal month of January in the recreation department in regards to summer camps. You guys remember we had all voted on a discount, and the reason we wanted to give a discount, number one, we never had summer camp registration in January before, and we were looking for incremental, new people to come and try the summer camp that hadn't tried it before. And we've got, it was interesting, the number, it's hard to tell who's new and who's old, but it looks like because of the number of new members that were created on MyRec, which is our software that tracks all of our reservations, we got 64 new non-residents that had never been here before for summer camp, and 22 residents that had never been here before for summer camp. So that was quite good. So we're very pleased about that, and we had the biggest recreation month we've ever had, and it was, on here you see 37,000 because we won't get the town clerk's report until the end of the month. In February we'll get her report, and then it'll go into, so it'll be a delay. But on my rec it was $91,000, so it was quite a large month. So from a financial perspective, January was excellent, and the staff down there did their usual good job. This is the cash receipts report, board members, that you, councilmen, that you will get. And this came up at the Association of Towns because we have a cash policy between the town clerk and the tax collector and the recreation department and how they handle cash. And while we were down at the Association of Towns meetings, they recommended in one of the meetings that we actually share what the cash in was, so which we hadn't done before. So from now on, you'll also get this. These are from between the building, recreation, town clerk, and tax collector. This is the dollar amount was $9,854 in the town coffers, and then the tax collector actually got $1,164.14 in cash, coins and dollars. So which is unusual, but it does happen. So from now on, you'll know exactly how much, since we have very good cash policies, it's good, but it's good to know how much comes in cash. That was their recommendation. So I sent it on email, so we're not making so many copies, but I want to make sure that you know about it. I also want to give out, here, I wanted to give out to the new town board. This was a full report from last year. So for last year, if you ever want to reflect back on what different months look like, you'll have a key. I keep this and, you want one? Okay. So you can see what 2019 looked like, and you can see, kind of look at the months if you're interested, but I'll give you a report every month if you want to wait and get that. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about on my list, I have the legal fees for the Article 78 that the town of Beekman gave us. Now, last month we passed, or last meeting, in January, we passed a resolution saying that it wasn't budgeted, so as a result, our plan was to pull the legal fees out of the fund balance. And when we have that all finally straightened out, we will do that. But it looks like we were $9,486 over budget, unless there are some bills sitting there that haven't been allocated to 2019 yet, which I'm going to check with our bookkeeper on Monday. I thought they were all done, but then it looked a little light to me, so I want to double check. So if that's the case, then we would be pulling less than $10,000 out of fund balance, which would be great news. And also, just so everybody understands, that Article 78, it was a little bit more expensive. Beekman sent us, they served us, then we had to respond. Our attorneys responded, and then they sent another response back. So they entered new information into the record and to send to a judge, so at that point, our attorneys had to respond again. So our final legal bill was slightly over $29,000 for the Article 78. And again, it was going to be around 20, it was the estimate, but that was because of that extra response that we had to give. And there's no news on that, it's with the judge. And it could go, we have no idea how that would go or how it's going to work. I can see it's a 50-50, and we'll let you know as soon as we hear anything. I also wanted to mention to everybody that the 2020 census is coming, and it's upon us on April. They're going to, in March of this year, they're going to send out the information to every household. They really want everybody to participate because apparently we lost. I think we've gone down in congressional seats. They were talking about the Association of Towns from in the 60s down to in the 20s as far as congressional representation we have in Congress because of the population decline. So it's really important that everybody get counted. You can go online and do it. This is hanging on the bulletin board outside, and in the March meeting, we're going to have John Penny here to go through it with everybody and make the presentation for those people at home. He is the Dutchess County Director of the Census, and so he's going to come and talk to everybody, but it's really important that that we count. Everybody counts. And if you see this on the bulletin board and you want to do it early, you can go right on the web and do that. And finally, I think the last thing I was going to update council members on is one of our policies that we put into place. Sorry, two more things, sorry. One of the policies that we put into place was based on some things that happen in other towns, which, one example, the town will remain nameless, but it was discovered way later that the tax collector hadn't paid her own taxes for 10 years, and nobody knew it. So it's just the wildest things happen that you can't even imagine. And so we have a policy about our tax collector, and the nice thing is it includes the tax collector has to prove to the town board that she paid her own taxes. So we see, here's her tax bill, and she sent me this to share with the town board, and it shows the mortgage company paid it, and it gives them on the list, and she wrote a little note. Please find attached a copy of our paid town tax and a copy of check number 960 blah 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 from our escrow company showing the same. PH Mortgage collects our escrow and then is paid out through the CoreLogic firm to Unionville. All of this was processed on February 13th. Signed, Kathleen Wellman, Town of Unionville tax collector and very happy resident of the Town of Unionville. So our tax collector is following the rules, and we appreciate that. And the last thing, town board members, I wanted you to have this. It's one of the things that we can talk about. You need to tell me how often, because I know numbers aren't I mean, I love going through this stuff, but I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. This is a monthly, how we're doing performance-wise versus budget. And basically what happens is we have one of these for the town, and then we have one for each department. And then I give the managers of that department how they're doing versus the budget. And so they can see, you know, where they're in the red, where they're in the green, and what's happening. So the town board can get this whenever they want it. You can ask for it. It has the annual budget on the right side, and then you see what percent, you know, how they're doing for that month, and then a year to date. So I think I love going through each department and looking at it. The department heads use it as a tool to help them manage better and to watch their payroll and that kind of thing. Take a look at this. This was showing you the whole year of 2019. Now, this is on the accrual basis, so there's going to be some more things added to this because we might have some bills sitting there that will be put back into 2019, but it gives you, you know, we haven't closed out the year entirely, but I'll let you know when the year's closed out. But anyway, anytime you want to see this, we could either go over quarterly, line by line. Wouldn't that be fun? Or I could send it to you and you could ask questions, or we could do it at the end of the year. I'm going to leave that up to you, but there's a lot of numbers floating around here, and all the department heads get those every month. Okay? That is the supervisor's report, including, I'm going to turn it over to board members. Councilman Welch, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I did not go to the Association of Towns like most of you, but I was around here Sunday on the 16th. We had the blood drive for Hannah at the Senior Citizen Center. We had a reasonably good response. 68 people showed up and 61 pints were collected. So many thanks to all those that took the trouble to go down there and donate. And also our recently elected tax collector is, as you mentioned, she's happy. Residents seem to be very happy with her work. I got a lot of good comments about her work. So,
oh, you remind me. I forgot, I was trying to do this at every board meeting. I was at the Association of Towns. I got back late on Wednesday, and since, late on Tuesday and part of Wednesday. So all day on Wednesday, I had 4 compliments on, a contractor came in to see me today, and he said that he is from West Mahopac, and he just finished a job today, and he wanted me to know he'd been working here for a couple of months, and that it was the nicest group of town hall people that he had ever worked with, including Joan Miller and the building department and the town clerk and the deputy town clerk and everybody involved. He said it was just a wonderful experience, and he wished he could get a lot more jobs up here because he said they're really hell in Westchester. So anyway, I got 3 others in addition to that, but I'm glad you mentioned Kathy because people seem to be very happy.
yes, she's did a very good job.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Councilman Frazier?
Well, I was down at the Association of Towns, went to a number of courses, and was getting caught up with things on the return. I'll have an in-depth report for the next meeting. Met with a number of different vendors on some of the items that we've been discussing, and made some contacts in that area. It was pretty. It was a good event this year.
Great. That's terrific. Thank you. We'll look forward to that. Councilman McGivney?
I was unfortunately not able to go to the Association of Towns, but from what I hear, it was really good stuff down there. I was around town. As John stated, I was also at the blood drive this weekend. Nice. It was a nice thing to do.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Councilman Durland?
All right. Like the rest of the crowd, I think I also went to Association of Towns. Took away quite a bit of information. Still got to process it all and go through all my notes, and then I can report back.
It's a helpful thing, isn't it? It's really...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they do a good job down there. And then Chuck Schumer was there. And
Oh, he's always there.
he's always there. He doesn't miss a chance. And then a couple of others were there. But so we did get some information from the outside, which is great. Okay, so at this point, we'd love to have a highway superintendent's report. Here.
Okay, so I've only been at it for a few weeks. Of course, somebody texted me while I'm trying to read my notes. Sat down with a crew, a good group of guys. They mentioned that today they were talking about the 4-day work week again for this summer season. They have their pros. It's a matter of setting up the jobs, getting to the jobs, and having a 10-hour day to complete a job instead of an 8-hour day. When you load everything on, and by the time you get to the site, they're on their break, then they get going, and then they break for lunch, and right after lunch, they get about an hour and a half, 2 hours of productivity, and then it's time to break down and go back to the shop. They have a 10-hour day, that's an extra 2 hours that they're in the field, and it doesn't break the day up. They get more done in a 10-hour day and more productivity. The question becomes, when do we start that 4-hour or 4-day 10-hour work, or 4 10-hour day work week? They threw it out there to start first pay period of April and end at the first pay period of October. I'm looking for the board to weigh in on it and let me know what you think. But I agree with the guys, a 10-hour day is more productive than an 8-hour day when you consider mobilization, the break, and then the lunch break. It just, you get more done. So it's basically when we all want to start that 4-day work week. So,
Well, first I'd like to
it doesn't
say
have to
thank
be
you for
decided
bringing it
on
up.
today.
Well, we can take a minute. I thank you for bringing it up, because I will say it's never been brought to the board before, at least in my short tenure. And I remember right after Labor Day, the phone starts ringing off the hook and you can't find people and you don't know where they are on a Friday. And
Understood.
yeah, so the fact that you're telling us and giving us notice that this happens is great. Councilman Welch, do you have an
Of
opinion?
course, it's
or-
completely up to Ed. I think, as Gladdy told us, I think whatever schedule he think works for him, I would personally be fine with, because he's on top of all this, what's going on and getting stuff done. So I think he's the best person to weigh in on that and make a decision. So I want to support his thoughts.
Okay.
Councilman Frazier?
No, I'm here to department head.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
You're
whatever
my
works
boss.
best for you, so.
Councilman McGivney?
I'm in agreement, 10-hour day versus an 8-hour day, definitely get more stuff
Makes
done,
sense.
you know.
Yeah, a lot of other towns do that as well.
Right.
And it makes sense.
So how about, is there any way we could recommend, because you're
certainly,
you're
that's
open.
why we're talking about it.
How about May through September, and maybe after that Labor Day, having them come back, because summer's pretty much over then, and that's when people are really anxious to get started on things?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're talking 5 months instead of 6 on a 4-hour or 4-day
Yeah.
work week, so I don't see
If
where
that's
that's.
okay with you, then that might
That's
work
fine
for the
with me,
residents,
sure.
because they're looking for them after the...
Yeah,
I don't know, do we actually need to set a date? I mean,
Well, he
if
asked-
The only reason
your
we're
workload
setting-
depends on weather conditions and,
well, we're setting a date in conjunction with a pay period.
okay.
So we're trying to pick the first pay period of the closest month, if you can kind of follow that.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering, how long does it take to convert the pay period over?
Doesn't.
No, that's not the problem, he's just trying,
No,
he's just trying to align it.
Yeah, I understand,
Nothing.
I was in a similar type of work. Everything we did was based on the weather. If the weather breaks early, you can get out there early to do it, you know,
Right.
and then work late into the season if it doesn't change back.
So then,
So, I mean, that's...
what you're saying is if we start April 1st,
Whenever the
That's
weather
fine.
breaks for you and it's,
Yeah.
you know, it works to your
I want
advantage,
more
I would say go
sure.
ahead and do it.
so then our cutoff date would be different.
Yeah.
Instead of October, we cut off.
Well, I don't know that we need
September.
to put a
Perfect.
cutoff date until you decide it's not economical anymore.
All right,
Day shortened.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
exactly.
okay. All right.
Thank you.
Other things to report, I don't know if anybody, residents have noticed, but we've been fixing a lot of catch basins that are settling in the roadways, particularly on Rose and up on Waterbury Hill, or not Waterbury, Blueberry Mountain, Blueberry Road.
Blueberry Drive.
Yep. I'll get the roads after a while. We put a bunch of cross pipes in on Pleasant Ridge Extension. We're doing a lot of brush mowing on the roadsides now because we can see the hazards without the foliage out, which is a big help. Focused mainly on the Walsh Road was our first. Now we're on the other side of town, on the north side of town mowing, and we're working our way to the south side of town. What else we got going on? We're working on cleaning up around the highway garage area. We did get rid of some surplus equipment. I think we did pretty good for equipment that's just been sitting around.
Yeah, that's great.
We've grossed about $5,300.
Yeah, very nice.
So that's all good stuff. I'm meeting with the town engineer hopefully next week, and we're going to come up with a comprehensive plan on our actual repaving of the town roads and how the process is to work. Once he comes up with a good plan, we're going to get our companies that are the bid that were awarded our paving bids to come out, and they're going to give us numbers on putting into action the engineer's plan. And then we'll know what it's costing to fix a road. Because right now, we don't really know. We're kind of putting Band-Aids on it. What else do I have? We do have a large brush pile behind the shop. I need to talk to the board about that. I got 2 bids to grind it and make a compostable mulch. It's twice ground. Typically in the past, we've been burning it. I'm not into that practice. Some of the material is too big to burn, and it's just not good for the environment.
It takes too long, we get a lot of phone calls
The grinding,
for smoke.
the 2 bids I got, one was for $6,500, the other one was for $4,500. I'm leaving it up to you guys, tell me which way you want me to go. Process appears to be the same.
Well, I would go with 45.
Then you go with the 45.
That's the one we're
I
going
mean, how could you lose up grinding, right?
Right. So, lastly, I want to take one of the trucks that may be scheduled or may have been scheduled in the past to be replaced. It's my opinion that we'd be far ahead of the game financially if we sent the truck out and got it refurbished. Truck's it's got less than 30,000 miles on it. It's just 10 years old, and a new replacement truck is $240,000, and I'm going to get a price to get this one refurbished, and I'll bet it's less than a quarter of that.
Great idea.
But, and what was
Is that the
wrong
truck
with
you showed me?
Is that the,
The International with the rock on the back?
No, this truck has got issues with it's a plow truck. The frame needs to be sandblasted and painted. The controls for the sander and the plow system need to be basically rebuilt and reinstalled. So it's going to be a good size number, but it's far less than a new truck, and I just don't see why we should be spending $240,000 when we can spend far less than that and still have a usable truck for many years.
Yeah.
So
you'll have
I'll bring that up in the next meeting if I could have all my estimates.
that's great. And, we put the $50,000 in the reserve account, and that we set up for highway equipment, and it's our first deposit of 50. We had 5,000 from earlier in the year. And so we're a long way away from saving up for 240, so I thank you for giving us a little more time, because we need it.
Is that a double frame truck or a single?
Single frame.
Single, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where I was going with that.
Yes, I do.
Thought the same thing.
Yeah. So I think that's all I have. Any comments from the board?
Sounds like a good idea. The truck.
Yeah.
Very good.
We do that all the time, so.
So do we.
Yeah.
That's great. Good.
Kick the can a lot for it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on top of
Superintendent
expenses.
of Highways, yes, we really appreciate that. Thanks for that excellent report. Town clerk, did you have anything you want to report on?
I just wanted to talk about the fact that we've been working with the supervisor's office and the finance team to get better reporting for the recycling center figures so that I can have better information and you guys can have better information to make decisions on some of the services that are offered there. As of right now, we're up to 300 in the non-resident permit sales and 344 in resident sales. So far far we're on target for this year.
Great.
That's great. And if we counted, I mean, because the 2020s went on sale in November, so if we went back and looked at November, December, I think we've got a couple hundred more.
Yeah, so far, so we're doing pretty good. They're still coming in every day through either the recycling center or the mail or people in person, so.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, public comments on agenda items? No? You want to stand there and the microphone's there, and you just need to give your name and your address, please.
I'm
And
Brian
which
Ryder.
agenda item you're talking about.
The one about the library, the library, but your plans for replacing the services, should there be restrictions. I'm Brian Ryder. I'm on the Board of Trustees of the Beacon Library, just full disclosure.
And where do you live? Just your street.
Manila Road,
Got it.
Oak Lake, New York.
Great.
I just think after all these years of fighting with this back and forth at times to try to fund the library services that everybody I've spoken to on the board has indicated they're interested in funding the library in one way or the other, and it just seems to me that we need to resolve this. I'm not sure why we have to worry about replacing those services or worry about restrictions. We've gone over different options. As far as building our own library, it's really not practical because it's really expensive, and there are a lot of minimum requirements that the state requires for a library that would put it out of sight. Dealing with individual libraries, neighboring towns, that's a non-starter. And of course, that leaves us with the Hudson Library System. And if you look at the pricing that Hudson Library System would be imposing on the town, I know we have a line item for it in the budget, and the price that they're charging us is really so much less than what they're charging per capita in other towns. It just seems to me that we could resolve this and just get it passed. We really want to have permanent library system services in this town, and it's just a matter of doing it. I don't know why we're waiting so long to do so.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thomas got 3 minutes.
Yeah, I actually came to talk about something that's not on the agenda, but I'm going to put that to the side because I think the libraries is probably a more immediate thing. I wasn't able to make the last meeting. I was out of town, so let me actually welcome Ed to the team. I've been really impressed watching what you've done over the past couple months. I mean, compared to what I remember seeing in the past, I think you hit the ground running. I saw that you took some trucks off the books from an insurance standpoint and cleaning up and all that kind of stuff, so thank you. I welcome the two Kevins. I'd actually like to get a chance to meet with both of you sometime in the near future to kind of discuss some things if that's
You have 3
possible.
minutes, just so you know.
Yep. I've already used one of my 3 minutes. The library. I guess I'm perplexed. I don't understand why it's taken 8+ months to get to where we are. I've tried to be educated about it. I've read what's been on the webpage multiple times. I attended a meeting in the town hall not too long ago, back in October. I've read the library access restrictions or the access rules, which I think is what they're playing by. I just don't know why it's taken 8+ months. I've been to meetings before. I've seen people express the same situation, condition. Let's just kind of move this along. I remember someone back in September saying, "You're on the clock," talking to the board, and it seems like the clock expired at the end of December. So we're like on overtime now. Maybe maybe I don't understand all the facts, despite the fact that I've tried. So if someone can explain the facts, maybe there's some more emails you can explain in the post emails. I have a hard time understanding. I just think we need to move on. And I wouldn't do a one-year deal. I don't want to go through this again next year. I think whatever we do needs to be multiple years and kind of get through it. Comments? 2 minutes? I did it.
Got another minute.
Thank you, Glenn. Mr. Morrison. Now we have, I was going to say, we have 3 emails that we're going to read out loud if you.
Okay.
And you want to go?
Hi, Karina Kelly, West Cliff Mountain Road. It's been a long time since I said that. I just want to say that I was surprised when I got the agenda when I arrived here tonight. Truthfully, I was expecting it to say that there was a vote, because I know that the deadline for the town board to answer the Mid-Hudson Libraries about the contract is tomorrow. So either you've already answered no, or I infer that the answer is no, because 11.8 talks about replacement of library services in the event of restriction. So I know you're not going to answer me. This is not a question and answer period. I'm disappointed. You all know I'm supportive of library services. I've never seen a single issue in the town of Unionvale in the 24 years I've lived here that brings so many people to a town board meeting. Elfrida is the faithful and will come for any issue. But everyone has consistently reported that they are behind library services, and instead we're talking about what to do in the event of restrictions, not to talk about how to solve the issue.
Anybody else? You can also talk at the end where it's town issues. You can talk then too.
Hi, I'm not really prepared because I found out about it at the last minute about the library.
Can you
But
identify yourself and what road you live on?
Oh, sure.
sorry,
My name's Kathy Spezial. I live on Waterbury Hill Road, and I've been using library services since I was a kid, and I can't say enough what they mean to people. You know, when you take your kids there, and just to bring families together, and to not have services available. It just seems like a breakdown of community. It just, I'm sorry I didn't have anything formal. I'm really passionate about this, and I know I've gone to other libraries with people in this town. I'm up here 30 years from the city, and I could get easily 100 people to come and speak at this meeting. I found out about it last minute. I wanted to come, and I'm really upset about this. You know, I think there should be something productive, you know, done about this moving forward. You know, I guess that's about it.
Thank you.
Joy Poskett, 18 Grangeville Road. At the risk of being redundant, I want to echo what everybody has said, and I don't remember your name, but you couldn't have said it better, even though you weren't prepared, because it came from the heart, and I think everybody that's here to speak for the library echoes what you just said. We're very passionate about it. We've been taking our kids to the library since they could scrawl their name on a library card. I've written multiple emails. I've texted with you, Betsy, a few times. This is the first time I've been able to come, and I will say I'll do whatever I can to have Unionville be part of the Mid-Hudson Library System.
Thank you. So we've got 3 emails here we're going to read out loud, and if somebody else wants to talk, Councilman Derlin, do you want to go?
Sure.
We got somebody else walking up the floor.
That's all right. Give it time. Go ahead, start that, sure.
All right. This email is from Mim Tannen. Hello, Betsy. I understand the final date to sign the contract with MHLS is February 21st. I want to make one last plea as a resident of Unionvale for over 40 years to sign a contract as proposed. You've worked very hard to try and change what MHLS and the individual library boards have asked. I think it is time to accept that they are not going to change any further, and the contract, in my opinion, is fair. I've reviewed your figures and theirs, spoken to friends in the field, spoken to the directors at both Millbrook and Beekman, and it is clear that, that what they are is offering us a final offer. As someone at your initial meeting with residents months ago, someone said that you can try, but once they say no, we do not have any options. A library is important to a community, and I implore you to think of the community and let us have access to the libraries. Your plans for piecemeal services for the town leaves out 2 very important things: libraries and librarians. You have done many good things for the town since you were elected, and I'm sad to see this issue causing unnecessary tension. Please read this at the meeting on Thursday, since I'm unable to attend. I would like it in the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, keep going. You said you had 3, right?
Yeah, do you want to wait? Do you want to?
I can wait.
Okay.
I'm holding on.
Shall we read the letter from Susan Kilcrease?
Yes, please.
All right, this is from Susan Kilcrease, Darren Road. Dear Supervisor Moss, I urge the town board to approve the latest proposal from the Mid-Hudson Library System so that Unionville residents continue to benefit from unrestricted services at the 4 libraries that most of us use. In the past year, my family has checked out books and DVDs, attended story time with our granddaughter, and participated in some library activities. Our granddaughter literally jumps up and down when she enters the children's room at the Beekman Library. This is a strong indicator of how important this time is to her and a reflection on how welcoming and helpful the staff is. We may lose this opportunity to attend story time if the contract is not signed. I am also fortunate to spend time each week volunteering at the Beekman Library. While I am there, I see valuable services the library provides in addition to all materials available to check out. The computers are frequently occupied and the staff provides necessary computer assistance to those who need it. Children read to Finity, a trained reading dog, and older students spend time as reading buddies with the younger students. The library provides a sense of community as chess club happens in one room while families connect in the play area of the children's room. While this is what I see when I am there, a quick look at the library calendar reveals many other programs that benefit both Beekman and Unionville residents. Many residents have spoken up since last summer in support of signing the contract with Mid-Hudson Library Services to continue Unionville residents' ability to access all the services that the libraries have to offer. The amount of money they are asking for is fair when compared to what residents of other neighboring towns pay for the library services, which is the most appropriate comparison to make. The amount of money is also far less than what would be required of taxpayers if the town attempted to build their own library that could offer the same resources that are currently offered by our neighboring libraries. Once again, I urge the town board to approve and sign the contract with Mid-Hudson Library System so there's no more interruption of service.
Thank you. One more. This last email is from Jean Moore, also on Darren Road. To Betsy Moss and members of the Unionville Town Board. I've been a resident of the town of Unionville for over 40 years. During the time I have lived in the town, I have enjoyed being able to use library facilities provided by other towns in Beekman, LaGrange, Poughkeepsie, and the city of Poughkeepsie because of whatever agreements our town has had in place for our residents to use these various libraries since our town does not have a library of its own. I would like to be able to continue to use various libraries in our area as in the past without any limits upon my use and whenever I feel the need or have the desire to do so. Therefore, I am asking the town board and Supervisor Moss agree to and sign the Mid-Hudson Library System contract as soon as possible and pay the entirety of the money that has already been allocated in the town 2020 budget for the library services for our town to the Mid-Hudson Library System. Excuse me. It seems to me that the fee proposed by the Mid-Hudson Library officials is fair and reasonable since the use of the library facilities in other towns by me and other Unionville residents should be supported financially by our town. Our use of the library facilities of other towns does cost those towns extra overhead to support our residents. I am not in favor of spending additional money, time, and resources to build our own library or for making substitute library provisions. Sincerely, Jean Moore. Let me give that to you. Okay.
Okay. Tillman Shaughnessy Road. The promise that the town made to Ralph Connor back in the 90s, clearly to build a library on this property, clearly is just not feasible financially. It's been said over and over again. Don't beat that dead horse. The money to pay the Mid-Hudson Library System is in the budget. We voted on the budget, positively. Again, it's been repeated many times. Let's pay the bill. I just don't understand why these anchors, so much for that, why these anchors are out. Just leave it, John, I can get it.
All right.
I'm old, but I'm not that old.
I'm not far behind you.
Yeah, I know. All right, just pay it. Let us enjoy the library system. It's not just Beekman, it's not just LaGrange, blah, 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 it's the whole system. I wish Ralph could come back. I'm going to go knock on his grave. All right, enough. We've said it all. Can you explain to us why
Thank you.
the hold on this? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to board, committee, commission, and council reports. Aki Bush, our chair of the Conservation Advisory Committee, is up in Massachusetts this evening, so she'd asked me, we discussed this, that she gave a really interesting presentation last time she was here last month, and basically the CAC would like to create a natural resources inventory for the town. And we have a resolution on deck tonight for the board to vote on, giving them permission to, and to make this NRI. The natural resources inventory is something that the Hudson River Estuary Program is helping us with, and they have found some grant money, and they're going to enable us to do it, and they're going to pay whatever would have to be paid to pull these resources together, so we get to pull this mapping of all of our natural resources together free of charge. And that's what Aki asked me to just explain to you. It's also, there's nothing proprietary in this. All the information that they're going to be pulling together for the town to use is going to be based on existing information. And so she would like to hopefully get that resolution passed, and we can talk about that again during the discussion over the resolution. That sounds like an interesting thing for the CAC to work on. Next up, we have Recreation Department and the Parks Department, and if Jake Gosnell could come up and join us, I believe Jake's there, we can go through. We talked about the summer camp sale, which is on here, that was extremely successful, and we hope it continues to be successful every month. So summer camp is on deck. Hello, Mr. Gosnell.
Hello. Yeah, so as we spoke about before, summer camp numbers were really, really good in January with the sale that was on, so that's great. We've also been working with Michael Cookingham and Shelley Knight and working on some of our pool programming for the summer. Michael is the aquatics director.
Yeah.
And we've been working on some programming for our seniors and also for our super young residents with a Mommy and Me program that we would run on Saturday morning. So we would have senior water aerobics, and we would also have a Mommy and Me program that would run, which would, I believe, would be from 10 to 11 before the pool opened on Saturday mornings, which would be kind of nice. Bring some people in before the whole public is there. And then as far as our events calendar, we do have our egg stuffing party for our Easter egg hunts coming up on March 27th, and then we have the actual hunts on April 4th. And it kind of surprised me last year how many people really enjoyed the egg stuffing party. It starts at 4 p.m. on the 27th. Last year, I think everything was done a little over an hour, which is amazing when you consider we went through something like 8,700 eggs. But, yeah, so that's
Girl
coming
Scouts
up.
were there, that was a great turnout.
Yeah, there was a lot of people
Very
there,
cute.
which is great.
So before you move on to parks, Jake, we have the pool recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have that? Oh, hold on. Okay. Can we walk through these?
We can
before?
absolutely walk through this.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to find a balance between day passes and then season passes for residents and non-residents and everything, and trying to strike the balance of, kind of bringing more people in to get season passes, which is nice. So we've kind of adjusted some things, or tentatively adjusted some things this year with the pricing. And then to kind of maybe, give it a little bit more of a community aspect for getting a season pass. There were thoughts, and again, this was speaking with Shelley Knight and speaking with Michael, who is our aquatics director, about what we could do. And the thought was maybe see how it goes to maybe mid to end of July. We could have, the pool closes at 6, maybe 6:30 or so. We can have a free swim for all pass holders, they would come in, we could have a nice little fire in the fire pit, and there could be some s'mores and things like that, and people could swim for 2 hours, and it would just be open to people who have season passes, because Michael brought up a good point, that people kind of like to swim in the evening, and we close relatively early on the weekend, so that could be a nice incentive to bring people in. And then we already talked about the aerobics and the Mommy and Me program.
And we also talked, do you want the big change in the pool passes, if you'll notice first of all, for the season passes, between 2019 and 2020, one of the biggest things, if you see the family up to 5, it's $130 for a family up to 5 people to buy a resident pass, and it has been $400 for a family of 5 to buy, for a non-resident family to buy a season pass. And what we'd like to do is take that down to $275, because virtually nobody buys any of these passes. The $400 and the $500 one, a family of 6 plus, and I don't know where all the categories came from, but if we continue with those categories, heretofore we've had $500 for non-residents to come in with a family of 6 plus, and since we've never sold any of those passes, we thought maybe we should lower them and see if, because the pool can definitely handle it, according to our aquatics director. They'd like to get some, people like to bring or meet friends from other towns at our pool and then go to their lakes in respective places, and they feel like our passes are too high. So we're recommending the family 6 plus non-residents go down from $500 to $350. Senior citizens was $75 for non-residents, 65 and up, and we're just recommending that go down to $50. That's for a season pass. And then there were some minor adjustments recommended by staff, daily passes to break it up. 18 and under for $3 a day is a little bit inexpensive. You're talking about a 6-year-old and a 17-year-old. There's a big difference there. So we're recommending for children 11 and up, $5, and for children 10 and under, $3. So those were the discussions that the staff had, and that, we all engaged in a couple of our long meetings, and we think it will go a long way to that, and we hope this social for season pass holders kind of make the pool really attractive to some more people.
Good idea.
You guys have any questions about that? We were talking in our last session about how we could pizzazz it up a little bit, and the social might be a way to do that.
Yeah.
Do you see any other avenues or anything you'd like to see changed?
It's a good test, right?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I've been to the pool and there hasn't been too many people there.
No, it's definitely declined
I've
over
been
the
there.
past few years, people buying season passes, so.
And I think the reason, it seems like everybody in Unionville, they were telling me that way over 50% of the families have pools. Seems like there's pools proliferate, a lot of people have backyard pools, so that might be one of the reasons.
Yeah, so we'll try it out, see how
Shelley's
it works.
convinced.
Yeah,
All right, is there
yes,
anything
Shelley
that
is
we-
convinced.
This is a recommendation. I think that we should probably, if everybody's comfortable with it, we could make a motion to pass this, I guess.
Sounds like a good idea.
All right, I'll make a motion that we follow the staff's recommendations and these pricing changes along with the social with free s'mores. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'd like just to put a little addition to your motion there, that we revisit this again. I don't know, how long do you think is a decent trial period on it?
Oh, I don't know, for me, I would think that, you kind of have to see how the summer goes.
Okay.
And that's hard because, then you lose a summer, but, we don't sell copious amounts of pool passes before the pool opens.
Right.
But they go on sale March 1st.
Normally. And you have your usual people who
Do
come
you
in.
prorate season passes at all?
We don't.
You don't, okay.
What if you do a sale like you did the Rex?
Could do that maybe midsummer.
Yeah.
Maybe have a sale for the rest of the
I
summer.
mean, that's been brought up before as well, prorating season passes. Because it makes sense, if it's halfway through the season in the pool and, closes in a month, you're not going to want to pay the same.
I would make it so there's an incentive to buy a full season, but at the same time, make some kind of compensation for partial season.
half a season or a quarter or something.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's something we should look at.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
We could actually, as both of you councilmen are saying, kind of combine it and have a big announcement at midsummer that for the rest of the summer it's X, Y, Z. That would give us a little more time to try to figure out the pricing. But for the basics, if we could give them permission, I know they really want to start, as they always have every
Well,
year,
I mean,
March 1st.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to go live March 1st. I mean, we don't start, swimming until Community Day, which is June 6th, so we have some time, but that's,
That's between you and Stephanie.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me, so.
Well, there's a motion
It's
on
up
the
to you
table and
guys.
there's a second. Why don't we go ahead and, unless there's more discussion, Councilman McGivney, do you have any questions or?
The non-resident pricing, how does what we're doing compare to some other pools that are out there? Any ideas?
Well, it's in line and still above LaGrange and a couple of the others we looked at. It's very close, but a couple of our, they don't have as many tiers, and they give steeper discounts, actually. But we didn't look too far beyond, because there aren't that many pools around, there's a lot of lakes. So we're guessing a little bit.
Yeah, our immediate neighbors don't have pools.
Right, so, their pricing is a little bit different, and they have a different thing that they're offering. So, what we really know is that nobody ever bought them higher priced ones anyway. And we were wondering if maybe years and years ago, when they set that price up, they were trying to keep people out, like just keep it reserved for the residents. But we know that there's lots of capacity there. And so, and since a lot of people have put in pools in their backyards, that we've got more room. And so people want to have friends from other towns meet in there and buy a season pass so they can rotate regularly. We thought it was a good idea. I mean, that's really.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I just wanted to see, the market,
Yeah.
are we close to what other towns are
We
doing?
looked at it when we were going through the numbers, but I didn't bring them with me. But we looked at LaGrange's and a couple of the others. But LaGrange being closest, I think some people thought people go back and forth between those two, ours and theirs. And they're still a little below us. Do you have any questions or anything? No. All right, so we have a motion on the table, we have a second. All in favor of passing this current price list as is with a revisit midsummer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, about parks.
I mean, as far as the parks, unfortunately, there hasn't been ice this season for the ice rinks, and I'm very sorry, but I cannot control the weather. We have people call.
I'm not sorry.
We have people call daily, and,
That's right.
yeah.
Our highway
So-
department's happy.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, the rinks haven't been up to be open this year. We have started because, they're right down at the bottom of the hill. We do have 2 tennis courts out there, so we've started to get some numbers for revamping the tennis courts and then getting them relined and whatnot. So they would be lined for tennis, and they would be lined for pickleball as well. So there you go. So that is on the table. We're in the process of getting quotes for that. We've been doing a lot of work in the building, lots of floor waxing, lots of painting, freshening things up, and some serious overhauls on the mowers and whatnot, changing fluids, greasing everything, get everything ready to go for the spring.
It looks great over
So-
there. You guys should walk through the rec area. They've done a beautiful job.
So yeah, but
That's it?
business as usual.
Busy, busy. Thank you very much. Okay. As far as old business, the town solar development on Route 55, the update I have, our East Light partners are out getting financing. They're putting together financing for 2 or 3, one of ours, and there's one in Stanford. There's a couple of others that they're doing. They're putting together their financing. They expect all of them, from what they told me, to go late spring, early summer to start construction. So what they're going to deliver to me is a list of the jobs, because when we started this process a long time ago, one of the things we asked them was if there's any jobs, could you send us what jobs there might be so we could tell our residents about them first, and then they could look outside, assuming the rates are fair, and all the other things that we look for when we're quoting something. So they're going to be emailing me a list of jobs that they might want to talk to residents about. And the other thing is that to remind our residents that if you are interested in getting that 10% or so discount, like by putting solar panels on your roof. If you want to wait, it takes about 4 months to construct this, and it's going to be starting in late spring, early summer, but 400 to 500 households in the town of Unionville, it's on a first-come, first-served basis, and the town board's not involved with organizing that, but they are offering subscriptions so that our residents, before we ask them to give it to our residents first before they go out, they want to not sell, but they want to give away 400 to 500 subscriptions so that whoever signs up for them, you wouldn't have to put the solar panels and that expense on your roof, but you would get the exact same discount as if you had. So that's coming, and they're going to send some flyers to us, and I don't know who the administrator who's going to be in the middle. We just want to pass that information along so people can take advantage of it should you choose to. So the solar project is definitely happening and moving forward, and we'll keep you posted. The next big project, one of our big projects on our infrastructure list is Furnace Pond Dam, and we've made great headway. And our liability insurer was very impressed that we got our hazard class downgraded from a B to an A, which is great. And we've been moving through with our engineering firm, and the board, did we pass these out, Andrea?
I'm sure, but yeah.
Okay, so basically what's happening is, for the councilman, we have, yeah, there you go. One of the things that you have it too, Steve, that they completed our inspection and maintenance plan that was due according to our DEC arrangement. That has already been submitted. So we have got it, and as a matter of fact, our park manager, Jake Gosnell, has already completed the first inspection, and that was submitted to the DEC. So we're right on target with them. You've got a copy of it. I don't know if I emailed it to you a few weeks ago or not, but I wanted you to have a copy so you can read it. And then the next thing up is our, but by the way, they want us to inspect the dam every 3 months and keep a record of it, and they would also want us, of course, after a big ice storm or another big rainstorm, to go inspect to see if there's any damage and to keep track of that, which Jake Gosnell is aware of and is going to take care of, and is going to be kind of co-managed a little bit on the reporting side with George Cole, who has helped us with reporting for a long time. And the next up is the engineering analysis, which they're going to start, and it'll start a little bit later in the spring, and then they're waiting for the lowest part of water in that dam so they can look at that low flow mechanism, so that they can analyze whether or not that can be fixed, or what they're going to recommend to us that we do, because they said we definitely need some way to get the water out of the dam as a part of a storm mitigator. So anyway, stay tuned. But we're on track with the dam, and they're doing a good job, and we'll keep you posted as things progress. Workers' comp, I'm sorry, I lost my place. We have a workers' compensation meeting scheduled for March 12th to settle up with Dutchess County after having left the Dutchess County workers' comp plan that we were so dissatisfied with last year. So we do have to settle up with them. One of the claims is closed, so that's good news for us, and I'll keep everybody posted as to how that
Are they
turns out.
coming here, or?
No, we're going there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if that gets postponed, we've asked them for some information. If we don't get it, then we'll have to foil it, and if we don't get that, then we have a problem, but I imagine we'll get it. But that would be the only thing to delay this date. Okay? All right. As far as last on our list, 10.4, we have, I wanted to tell the board members, we need to have a discussion about this bill. The Unionville Fire Department has had an application in front of the zoning board, and they, in our last meeting, we waived the application fees because it's our fire district, and we don't want to, it's taxpayer money, and they don't need to take it from one pocket and put it into another. So we waived those fees. They also had a zoning board meeting, and they incurred $300.71 of a bill for being at a zoning board meeting in which legal counsel was required. As everybody knows, that when we bring in these outside consultants, the applicant pays. There was another meeting recently, and they incurred a bill. Subtotal was $455. The law firm, Vanderwater, gave a courtesy discount of $160. They discounted off of it, so the end result was a bill of $295 for the last bill. And the reason I need to discuss it with all of you, it's $295, but we did cover an $1,100 bill that they had with an attorney meeting, and they paid the $375 one, and I wasn't expecting another one, but we have another one that got submitted. It's $295, and we have to decide, do we pass it along? And you've recused yourself, thank you,
Right.
Commissioner. But how do we feel about this as far as incurring, do we pass this along to the fire department? I mean, we have waived our application fees, but this is another consultant bill. Does anybody?
I don't have a problem with waiving the application fees, but I think the resulting legal fees, I don't know that we should do that, yeah.
We did.
We did the $1,100 on one.
We did cover an $1,100 one, and we did explain to them escrow at the beginning of the process. Joan Miller sat down and gave them, the escrow was $4,200, which we would normally collect from an applicant, and what we explained to them is, we're not going to collect it from you, because you're using taxpayers' money, but when the bills come in, we need you to cover them. So I think we've been fair with them. I just don't want, I want input from all of you before I wouldn't make a unilateral decision. And you could recuse yourself. Sorry, I keep looking over you, sorry. Councilman McGivney, do you have any thoughts on it?
I mean, you're saying we already covered a bill for last time
Covered a
around.
large one, an $1,100 one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the taxpayer should be on the hook. I mean, this bill's not as big, but, it is a bill that we are incurring.
Right. It's there, yeah.
It's a question of reasonable to expect them to be able to cover that bill.
Well, because the discount of it, which is really nice of Vanderwater.
I mean, I would say probably reasonable. We did waive the application fees. We did give the courtesy of paying the $1,100 bill.
We paid a large one because we were worried about, the cost to them. So it sounds to me like, I think I'm going to make a motion that, based on the comments, that we go ahead and give this bill to the fire department. They got a courtesy discount. They did incur the cost with the consultant. It's $295, which is quite reasonable. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor of giving this bill to the fire department, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right, motion carries. That's a fair result, and we'll pass that on and get that taken care of by them, and not take it out of our general fund. Thank you very much. Now, under new business, Highway Superintendent is here to walk the town board through your recent, you want to pass that to Kevin and here, Steve? John, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, okay, it's yours, then I forgot you were there.
Noisier.
All right, so we had some, did you go ahead and walk us through this, Superintendent?
Well, we'll do our best. So we had to rebid all of the materials that the highway department uses, aggregates, contractors that do paving, asphalt reclamation, so on and so forth. So we had them all rebid. We read the bids last week, awarded the bids, but we're going to keep the...
Well, you didn't really award them, did you? You just...
Kind of.
You advised your recommendations
Based on pricing and quality, but we are going to leave it open to all bidders that we have accepted all the bids. And part of that reasoning is for location of where we are working in the town. For example, if we are working up on Pleasant Ridge and the quarry's at the bottom of the hill 2 miles from where we're working, they're a little more expensive. The next closest bidder, the low bidder, is 15 miles away, so just from a logistics standpoint, it makes sense.
Save money in trucking.
Yeah, exactly. So that was our school of thought on that. So basically, we awarded the paving bids and the reclamation bids to the low bidders, the aggregates and pipe bids, pretty much we're leaving that open to all bidders. So that's kind of the way we went.
So we're doing this right the very first time ever, which is great.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Well, we're all, yeah,
We did it different.
we did, yes, but no, according to the book, this
we
is
did
the
it
way we're
as per
supposed
the
to do
book.
it. Now, the proper way, what we have to have happen now is, because we're following all the rules now, is everybody has the spreadsheet of everything that our highway superintendent collected, and then what you do is you just made your recommendations, and now we ask the town board to accept them. Officially, the town board votes to accept your recommendations, and
We're done.
you're done. So, would you like to make a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion to accept the bids as outlined by our highway superintendent.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, motion carries. Congratulations. Great process, and thank you for doing this. So we'll do this, I guess, every year. And there's still room for county bids. I mean, you can still look
Yeah,
at,
that's why we're leaving it open.
that's great. Terrific. Great job.
And we also have the availability to use state bid material as well,
That's great.
so we're not cornered.
Yeah, I'm glad you got this all set nice and early in the season.
Well, we're a little behind, but regardless. The nice thing is that you folks can see the numbers.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing them, and you can use them as you just described. So thank you very much. Nice job. Appreciate that. Okay, this is for the councilman. I have a draft I just passed out to you, if you guys would take this home with you. One of the things that we have not done, and it was our attorney, actually, Jeff Battistoni. Good night. Ed, thank you. Our attorney, Jeff Battistoni, had recommended this to me, and then I did some research. Our board really does need rules of procedure, because there's certain things that come up that we need to already have a little game plan. This is a draft. If you guys, if everybody would please review this, we'll talk about it at the work session. This comes from, I got samples from other towns and from the Association of Towns. And so this is put in here. A lot of these haven't been filled out yet. So I'm going to continue trying to fill them out. Some of them are just sitting there with a headline and detail. And then we can talk about it when we meet at the workshop, and then we'll finalize it if we like it during the next meeting. Okay?
Okay.
That's rules of procedure for the town board. Next up, 11.3, best value as far as a local law. Councilman Joel, I think you're going to discuss that with us.
Sure. When me and Betsy went to Albany, I took one of the training classes about procurement, and what they spoke about was not necessarily going with the lowest bidder, but going with the best value bidder.
Like Ed was just saying, with the highway material,
Was exactly what I was going to bring up.
logistic related.
So logistically, the best value would be going to a spot that may be $1 more, but it'll save you $6 in trucking, you know what I mean? So, basically, we need to come up with a policy or a law that adopts something to that effect.
So the attorney that gave the presentation said that you should have a best value local law that is established to give you the flexibility to do that.
Shouldn't it be part of the procurement policy?
You said it was a local law.
Yeah, I don't know. Your procurement policy is not part of your local law anymore,
it's
right?
not
So,
about
yeah,
code.
I don't know whether you need a local law for this, but that's what the presenter told you.
Yeah, it's not, the reason we pulled that procurement policy out was because it had some things that, we wanted to be able to adjust it.
Outdated, right.
And what he said was it's a generic. What it says is that the town board can use best value as a metric when they choose and when they think it's. But if we said without that being on your books, then you're not supposed to use best value. But he was an attorney, and we've got his information, and we've got a sample resolution, and Kevin and I were going to follow up with him and make sure that it made sense. Send it your way, and then you could look at it for us. But we want to bring it up for discussion because it sounded like good advice.
Definitely good advice.
It's also good
Yeah,
practice.
I'm not certain it's not already mentioned in the procurement policy. I'd have to review that. And
Yeah, I think if you read it carefully, there are indications along the
Right.
lines of that.
Right. And if we do pass a law, then I think that the procurement policy should refer to it.
Right, yeah. Well, on our agenda tonight, we have, on 11.6, a couple bullet points down, a request that we review. Everybody's gotten the policies and procedures in your notebooks when you started. And what we've done it here every other, 2 other years I've been here. I have known it hasn't been long, but we've always reviewed them prior to March, and then we've been approving them. Do we want to keep them as is, or do we want to update them? And so if you could read the credit card policy, the procurement policy, the things that you were given in that notebook, then in March, we'll decide, in our March meeting, we'll decide, are they perfect like they are? Do we want to adjust them? It would be the perfect time to do what Steve's recommending. And in the meantime, it'll give us more time to look up this, follow up with this attorney. Okay?
Yep.
Great, so we've got some reading to do for the March meeting, and we've got some town board rules that we're going to talk about, rules of procedure in the work session at the board meeting. So we got some follow-up. Thank you for that. Our neighbors in LaGrange have hired a planner and named Jennifer O'Neill, and the council, the town board members have received her resume, which is quite impressive. And she came over here, and I met with her, and a couple of other people were here that day that met with her. I think Pat Carlemi was here from our planning board chair and our zoning chair. And I think, George Kolb, our building department head, was here. So we all got together. Alan Bell had called, and he wanted us to try to meet with her quickly, kind of on short notice. So we did. Anyway, the plan is that we have training that we need for our 3 boards, land use training, and we have we've got a grant from the Greenway organization to update our zoning. In the master plan, the zoning is off because it was adjusted after the master plan was done, and nobody went back and put the correct zones into the master plan. So our thought was we were going to use Jennifer O'Donnell to help us with those 2 projects. And then if the consensus is she's terrific and we want to keep using her, she's not an employee, she's not an employee of ours, she's an employee of LaGrange, and we would use her as a consultant like we would if she worked at Tom Harvey's firm, our engineering firm.
We couldn't use her as a shared service person, like we do with the assessor?
No, we don't want to, and the reason we don't want to is because we don't want to be obligated. We don't even know if everybody likes her. It's the same thing as a shared service, because they're sharing her with us, but I personally, from the experience of the the 2 land use boards, do not want to get locked into somebody that ultimately, I don't want to sign a shared agreement with LaGrange on her if the 2 other boards decide that they don't feel comfortable.
All right.
And if we pay her, we're going to have a consulting relationship, and we pay LaGrange. They'll bill us every month, we pay them. They've already agreed to those terms, but it gives our land use boards and the town board members who haven't seen her in action yet a chance to assess whether or not they think she's terrific. She's got a great resume, but this gives us flexibility. And the rate is extremely positive for us because she is an employee of the town of LaGrange, so it's kind of a win-win for us.
Okay.
So anyway, we've got some code changes we wanted to talk about this year. LED signs, density issues, and also solar, because some people of the planning board's getting ready to write us a letter about solar. They'd like us to take a look at that, so it'd be nice to have somebody on deck if everybody thought she was terrific. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, that's just kind of a heads up of where we are. Anybody have any questions? Did you guys see your resume? Anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was pretty good. All right. Project plan for 11 Timeware Park Road. So, in regards to 11 Timeware Park Road, what we're going to do with that is, and it was funny, I was down with our park manager, Jake Gosnell, and his team tonight, and one of our residents was sitting in there talking about the Easter egg hunt. That's Kim Skorlik. And the first thing out of her mouth was, "Oh, Betsy, before you leave, I want to talk to you about that house over here." And I said, "Well, you know what?" And she said, "I think it would make a great wedding venue." And we talked about it because our thought was that there are some very, very high-priced places, and then there are other places that maybe young brides don't want to go to. And if we priced it in a way that would be really advantageous for our residents, that would be good. So she's very excited about that. and it was a good conversation. But before all of that happens, we're putting a group together with the architect who's willing to help us out. Doesn't mean we're picking him at the end result, but he's going to help us. I'm going to work with him on putting together what his recommendation is for a budget. And then the finance office, myself and Danielle, and with some help from Wendy, we're going to do a feasibility study, which is collecting a lot of data. And then we've got to get a group of residents. We think we're going to get the data that we're going to collect of things like, who's doing what are they charging in the area for those various venues, or short-term rentals, I should say, long-term rentals. Get the data together, look at the vacancy rates, look at all those things, and see if put that in a document. Get some of the residents together and see if the residents, what their thought is about the idea, some of the stakeholders that they call them. And then we'll come up with some sort, an organizational plan, so we know what kind of staffing, if any, we would need. We would prepare a lot of assumptions for an income statement, and then we can talk about scheduling and timeline and projected financials, and then we come up with some findings, and then I'm going to bring that back to the town board. And my backup plan with that is, we're going to do the basic information and pull all the data together. And I thought that planner at LaGrange, because she's done some projects like this before, to do a real feasibility study is about 20 grand. And I think it's necessary in this particular case. So if we pull together all the preliminary data and all the things I've just outlined, and then I was going to ask Jennifer O'Donnell to look it over so she could tweak it. So we're getting it tweaked and paying an hourly rate for that instead of bringing in an expert to pay the 20 grand. And Jennifer has a very good background for it. So we'll do the preliminary work to save some of her time, and then we'll pass on. And I'm not sure when she will be able to be brought in and get it done, but I'm hoping to get it done in March. Okay? So that's our game plan there. And if anybody has any ideas that come to you later and you want to give me a call, please feel free to do that. We walked through the annual review policies and procedures. Thank you for that. And now we've got another idea. I don't know if you want to come up and join. All the board members have a packaging. Yeah, I think John passed one around already. We sent this out as well a couple of weeks ago, a brochure from a company called Tenter. Now, this idea was first brought in several conversations from residents that like the idea of glamping. And they said, we really want to use, now, some people are convinced that people say they want to do it, but they don't ever end up doing it. But this idea first came from them. And so what we passed out, what I've sent to town board members is a marketing brochure in which we talked about this, I think, last fall. I think we first talked about it and put it on a list. Talked about this Tenter, and I'm going to ask our park manager, Jake, you want to give everybody an overview of what Tenter is and how it works?
So I just want to say I've never used Tenter before, but so basically, from what I've gathered from all this stuff is, they come in, they provide you with a platform, they provide you with a nice canvas tent with a bed for in there. They provide you with chairs. They provide you with an enclosed fire pit. They provide you with a privy, which is very nice. And then they handle all of your booking as far as, people who want to come and stay and whatnot. And it kind of gives you a different level of camping as opposed to if you come to use the sites that we have. They're primitive, we have an outhouse and a lean-to or a tent spot, and that's about it. That's kind of the long and the short of it.
Yeah, and I think I'll go through pros and cons. You can put them in the category that you think they belong in. The cost of this system is $6,500. And the platform, the Adirondack chairs, the eating table, the loo, you get 50 bags for the loo. I mean, they have a long list of materials that you get. You pay $6,500 for it. They pay to have it put together and constructed, which you can see would look something like this one. So, and it's kind of scaled down glamping. I wouldn't call it glamping, but it's there's a bed and night tables and stuff, and it's cute. So the idea is that if for one unit is $6,500, and they send you all the materials, they have it built for you. And then basically, and this would enable some of our residents that want to go down into the park and be maybe a little more comfortable than what they used to do. And it would enable that. They recommend, Jake and I had we had a conference call with them again today, and then we also had a long conversation about placement. And then we don't have to do any of the work as far as, we just get an email that somebody has gone on Airbnb and wants to rent it. And then they would be able to rent it. Now, they think our big selling point is that we do get people that want to come up to the city a lot, and there aren't enough places to stay here. And that's a common complaint. And for the campers that want to go, if you go into the Airbnb website, for example, you go down to the bottom where the camping is, and you can see Tenter and Woodstock, and you can see it in Rhinebeck and across the river. And it's becoming a very big hit in state parks. So when the state parks, we thought, if they get through, it's something that we could take a look at, because it allows people to come and visit your park, which we're always trying to get more people into our park, but this will end up bringing in non-residents to come and learn more about our area, maybe go hiking. It's going to, we have a swimming pool, so that's attractive. And they rent it on, it looks like 15 different sites, from Airbnb to TripAdvisor. And some of these, actually, Councilman Derlin, you know a little bit more about Airbnb and how people get rated.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Some people might not know. I don't know if all the board members have done. I know that our attorney said he has not done Airbnb, so please fill him in on the rating side.
Well, me and Andrew both have Airbnbs, or I had one. I think you still currently have one. But the way it's set up is that it's all app-based, and you could rent, in the case of Airbnb, you rent your house or whatever you're looking to rent, a tent. And it's all set up online. All the communication is online. It's all texting and emailing through the app. Everything's done through the app. And just like this, they take a portion of it out. And then you get rated. They get rated, so they're kind of held accountable. And then you also get rated, so you're held accountable.
They get a bad rating, they won't be able to, we would let them come back,
right.
Or they might not get into other places.
Right.
Yeah.
You can black it out, but we didn't want people coming on a certain date. If we had an event going on in the park or something like that, we didn't want people camping out. During that time frame, you can black it out. You can kind of do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, it's a very flexible program. It's very flexible.
Yeah. And it's amazing. As opposed to renting something by the month, not that you would rent this really by the month, but in terms of Airbnb and maybe for some of the other things that we're looking at, the nightly rate is much higher than what the monthly rate would be if you were to convert it.
Right.
So there's a lot more upside, and there's some work to be done. I don't know who takes care of this tent or turns it over, but
well, in our case, Stephanie, we have Stephanie Doherty that is in charge, is our facilities rental manager. And so Stephanie had assumed she was going to get the email alerting her that they were coming.
Yeah.
And we told her that would be fine. And she'd get the email alerting they were coming. And then we could put stipulations as to when they can arrive, various things, so that we would have somebody on staff there.
Yeah.
And now the other part of doing it, we don't have to do all the work of trying to rent it, which is great. We have them, and they take 20%.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it'd be an 80-20 split, and then 80% comes to the town and 20%. But I think it's a good thing to look at, because residents have asked us, and people do say they want to camp. To try one might be something. I don't have any experience with it either. But you can go on Airbnb and some of these other sites and see it, and then see how they get rated, and we can talk about it again later. But the only other thing is, I think, Jake, you may want to just walk through the positioning. Let me hand that down to Jake. Share it with Councilman McGivney and Frank, and I'll share it with you.
I especially after our phone call today, had my reservations about things. It has the ability to become an attractive nuisance if it's placed in the wrong place. So the kind of thought that, where my head kind of went is, we already have a campsite behind the pool in the meadow back there. It's close to pretty much everything. We would have the ability to, off of the pool house, put in motion detector lights, so that way if people aren't renting it, we can turn the motion detector lights on. So that way, in the middle of the night, if somebody goes back there, and tries to cause a problem, the lights will come on, things like that. And it's also close enough, if we put it right back here, that you can park behind the building. It's not, you're not going to drive to your campsite, but it's close enough that, we're not talking about having to have people meet them and cart their things in and things like that.
So it's very self-service.
Yes, super self-service.
I had that same question about
Yeah, that was mine.
whether it was going to attract people.
Yeah.
There's a page of frequently asked questions here with no answers, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
We did that, we actually, those are the things you walked through with them on a conference call.
Unless they're trying to hide the answers.
Yeah, they sent that to us and set up a conference call. And then we walked through. I think that's their ploy. They're like, okay, call us and we'll give you the answers.
But those were,
good going.
some of my, like Kevin said, that was one of my thoughts. But
Building permits or vandalism?
There's a lot of things to consider.
So I would say look over at the, look it over and read about it, and if we want to do a joint conference call, or you want the number to call them, whatever information you need. It sounded like an easy way for us to offer something that some people have asked us about, and it seems like a really neat idea. We've been in touch with our insurance, the liability carrier, and he thought it was a great idea, but he's a real outdoorsman. And he said,
He's for it?
yeah, he said it's a great idea, and he goes, "You think we can mitigate liability through signage and waivers?" And he goes, "I'm going to talk to my team and develop a suggestion for you guys, and I'll get back to you." So, lots pros and cons. We got to weigh them, and then we can talk about it. Some people will love it, and some people, Anyway, something to think about.
Interesting.
It is a really interesting idea, and I thank the resident that brought it to our attention. Okay.
all right, good night, guys.
Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Now you're off the hook.
I thought you were staying. It's like, out of here. Okay, 11.8, replacement of library services in the event of restriction. Now, the one thing I can say is, I don't know what's going to happen, but we met with the board directors, presidents of the board, and the library directors on January 29th. And they agreed to meet with us, they agreed to meet with us because because the contract expired, and we had said we really wanted to meet, and they did not meet before, but after we let it expire because we didn't have any conversation. They did agree to meet, and Councilman Welsh and I went over there and met with them. And during that meeting, there was, I think there were a couple things we said we'd be willing to do, like, we'd be willing to have one contract depending on what was in it instead of having multiple contracts. But from the libraries, there was no movement whatsoever in their position on anything. It was a very cordial meeting, and they're very nice people, and I think everybody is equally trying to do their best for their constituents and their various constituencies. So it was nothing like it. It was a very, very cordial and informative meeting. I think the reason they agreed to meet with us was just so they could explain their position, but there was absolutely no movement in anything. We gave in on two, and they were, again, explaining it, which I can understand why they wanted to talk to us, but I was a little disappointed that I think we both were. We walked out there saying, wow, there was almost no reason to meet. Now, that being said, when we were in that meeting, they told us that we needed to get back to them on February 3rd. So that was what we were told by one of the board presidents. So we said, okay. So we got a couple of emails back and forth over that weekend, and then I think they said that they would take a look at a per card basis if they just use their card holders. And philosophically, we explained to them that where we are, the philosophical difference is that we have looked around the state, and we are paying more per capita than any other unserved town in the state, and that we feel that they should consider that. We also, we told them that we have people in this town that may not be sitting in this room, but they certainly call a lot, and they are thinking that it's at a price that is very, very high, and they don't have a say, they don't have a vote, it's just a board appropriation. We would love nothing more if this were taken away and people voted on it on their own. It is getting to be very high for a board appropriation. So that being said, we didn't get, we wrote the board back and said, here's what we all agreed to in one of our earlier meetings, and we presented them with that on February 3rd or 4th or 5th, maybe the 5th. And that was past the deadline, so I didn't know what they were going to do. And then they wrote us back another piece of information, and they refuted every paragraph that we had in our final offer to them, and they refuted it, negated it, and we haven't moved from there. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have anything to vote on. What we are, I guess what we're going here, I guess what we would like to do here is say that if there are restrictions imposed, that we want to take what services we can and replace those with similar services.
Yeah.
So, and that means, according to the direct access plan, and this is a quote, based on the Mid-Hudson Library System Board accepting a claim of serious inequities and hardship as valid, MHLS staff will confer with the MHLS Directors Association to implement one or more of the following. A is restrict system-wide loaning of non-print materials. B, restrict loan of printed materials less than 1 year old from acquisition date. So everybody can still go in libraries. You can borrow print material if it's over 1 year old, and the non-print materials would be the things that they would restrict according to their direct access plan. So our thought was, we really hoped, and we explained to them that we were kind of in the middle of a jam ourselves, because we had a lot of people that think it's gone out into the Netherland, and in one regard, it is easier to put up your own library than having to deal with this. Because once it goes into an old library, our residents are in charge, which is great. So it makes that, it does make that easier. So I'm just saying, that's part of our conversation. So our thought was, if we do get restricted loaning of, so that our residents, and we'll continue to try to work this out. They have our letter, and we're hoping that they would perhaps rethink a couple of things in there. I mean, give us something. We've gotten, right now we're at nothing, but if they could give us something that would help on our philosophy differences, that would be great. But in the meantime, if the loaning of non-print materials becomes a problem, then video streaming, e-books, audiobooks, computer services, we would buy 2 new computers with a printer and put them down in the senior center, and DVDs, and then books less than 1 year old we would be able to provide. So there are companies that supply all those things, and we would just engage all of them and replace the video streaming and the e-books, and we would provide, we would order books that are through a leasing program, so we wouldn't be owning them and starting a library, but we would provide those for our residents, and that's where we're headed. So let's wait and see. Does anybody, you guys, anything else you want to, I mean, that's pretty much what. Yeah, there's nothing new to report. We haven't, I think they were waiting for their own meeting, but that meeting must be the one that everybody heard was February 20th or 21st. I think it's the 21st, I don't know. But we got some emails, a couple of emails from people that they heard there was a meeting. I think they thought it was here on the 21st, but it wasn't. So, all right, we will keep everybody posted. I think some of you will know before we will, and hopefully, there's some budging after they all meet. Maybe somebody will say, let's, we understand where they're coming from, and let's meet them halfway somewhere. So anyway, we're still hopeful.
Okay.
That being said, we have one resolution on the table. All right. Councilman McKinley, do you have yours handy? Do you want to introduce this resolution, or?
Yeah, let me find it.
All right, well, why don't I let Councilman Welch, why don't you introduce it?
All right, I'll introduce it. Resolution 20-22, resolution authorizing the CAC to participate in the DEC Hudson River Estuary Program to create a natural resource inventory for Uniondale. You got it, Kevin?
Yeah. Whereas the NRI contains information about a town's natural resources, groundwater, streams, mineral resources.
Hold on a second, you need to start back up. Whereas the New York State, top paragraph. John didn't read that, you read the title.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Whereas New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, Hudson River Estuary Program, in partnership with the Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County, has offered to assist the town of Unionville Conservation Advisory, the CAC, in 2020 with developing a natural resource inventory, NRI, for the town, and whereas the NRI contains information about the town's natural resources, groundwater, streams, mineral resources, wetlands, farmlands, habitats, plants, and wildlife that contain informed land use planning and decision-making, climate resilience strategies, and serve as an educational tool. And whereas the DEC Hudson River Estuary Program will provide guidance to create a basic NRI incorporating information from prior town plans and studies, and coordinate with partners to create a series of resource maps at no cost to the town. And whereas members of the CAC have committed to volunteer for the project and will be responsible for public outreach, map review, and contributions to the NRI report. Now therefore be it resolved as the following: the town Board of Unionville does hereby agree to participate in the DEC Hudson River Estuary Program technical assistance opportunity, and authorizes the CAC on behalf of the town to work with the DEC to create the National Resource Inventory.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Discussion. Any discussion about it? Everybody feel?
I think we had enough discussion at
Questions
the
are
work session.
answered?
Yeah, Laki's good presentation.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Frazier?
Aye.
Councilman Derwin? Councilman McGinty?
Aye.
Councilman Walsh?
Aye.
Supervisor Thomas?
Terrific. I know they'll be very happy, and they're looking forward to this project. Resolution 2022 carries, and they will be very happy with that. Okay, now I'd like to have a motion that we pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
All right, no one's opposed, I like that, thank you. All right, the bills will be paid. And now we have public comment on town issues. Anybody want to say anything?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm Arlene Pucci. I live on Hoofprint Road. And I would like to talk about two things having to do with the library. The first is I would just like to remind the board that you have been voted in as officers on this board to represent the needs and desires of the people of Unionville. And for the last year, the people of Unionville have made pretty clear that we want you to sign the contract and provide us with unrestricted access to library services. I do not understand this idea that you're going to provide alternate services, because I'm the librarian at Greenhaven Correctional Facility, and I can tell you that I, on my little library, spend about $15,000 a year on books and magazines only. Forget e-materials. So the idea that you can spend less money or provide anything remotely resembling what's available in the public library by yourself, first of all, you need a librarian to do it, because it's not just a matter of purchasing. It's a matter of the expenditures and the selection and all of those things. The other thing I want to do here is just list the services that the library provides that your little scheme will not replace. Book club, ACT practice test for high school students, Tiny Tot story time, reading buddies, afternoon at the movies, chess club, Fables with Finity, one-on-one computer help, Crazy 8 math club, homework helpers, books and tea, Miss Joanne's visit to Natural Wonders Learning Center, Miss Joanne's visit to the schools, Nintendo Switch Gaming Club. I mean, unless you're going to hire somebody to provide all of those programs, then your idea is a cockamamie one. And the people of the town of Unionville have come in here repeatedly. I mean, I've been here in the last, twice this came up, probably 8 times, to say that the people of Unionville want you to sign the contract and let us have our library services. We are willing to pay the fee. We are willing to pay that portion of taxes, and that is what we want you to do. It's very clear. If you are refraining from doing that, then you are not serving the people. And you said something about how, oh, people, you've heard that, people have said blah, blah, blah. If you don't have people in here saying it to us, and you don't have names, then don't even say that, because I don't believe you. I think most people in this town want library services unrestricted, and we want you to let us pay for them. Thank you very much.
Any others?
Karen Snare, Burbank Village Road. I wrote you an email, and when you said you were going to read emails, I thought you might read mine, and so there was no point in my speaking earlier. But maybe you didn't get it in
You
time.
didn't ask me to, so I only read those that people specifically said they couldn't come when we read them.
Fair enough. Okay. So you've heard me before. I'm saying it again. I really think that we ought to sign this contract. I don't understand the objection to the way that the money they're asking for is calculated. It seems just straightforward and sensible to me. We're counting population, dividing an amount of money. It should be our whole population, just as it is the whole population of surrounding towns, not just library card holders. I think that's apples and apples. Other people apparently don't think so. But I don't understand. And there's been a lot of concern about, well, we don't have any influence on the governing of other libraries. There's been requests that there be town board representation on library boards. That would be more than Village of Millbrook or Town of Washington boards have. There is no connection between the Town Board of Washington or the Village of Millbrook Board and the Millbrook Library Board. And I think that's also true in Beekman. Thank you. The boards are made up of citizens. There has been an effort, and will continue to be efforts, to have Unionville residents on the town board, on the boards of Millbrook and Beekman. That works for me. And there's been a lot of talk about paying for, well, we don't want to have the people who don't wish to use the library services, it's not fair to make them pay for it, but this is a thing that happens all the time. I haven't been to the town pool in 20 years. I pay for it all the time, and I'm glad to pay for it. It's a service that should be available to residents of the town. I'm glad it's available to me, but I'm not using it. What I want to do is use the library, and I want the town to fund the library just as it's funding the pool, it's funding the upkeep of this beautiful park, which I'm also not using very often because I live far at the other end of the town. This is a thing that happens. My kids are out of school, I'm still paying school taxes.
3 minutes road.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on one second. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak for Mrs. Kelly? Okay, you've gone once before. I just want to make sure that anybody that wants to speak for the first time this week. Anybody else? She is going to speak, but I want to make sure nobody else that hasn't spoken first.
topic.
Okay, nobody else wants to
Rita's
speak.
covering other topics. Okay. I'm Karina Kelly. I live at West Clove Mountain Road. I'm here in Unionville. So I guess this really surprised me because I am unclear at why the town board didn't read the letter sent by Carrie Weller as a summation to the meeting. But for everyone else, since this has not been public knowledge, not placed on the town website, nothing has been updated from Mid-Hudson since sometime in the fall. But there has been several communications between the town board and libraries. The libraries proposed that the town contract with Mid-Hudson for a 6-year term with an initial contribution of $77,935 and a cost of living increase based upon the federal cost of living adjustment, that's called COLA, every 2 years. With the payment to be made on or before March 1st of each year, we believe that these terms are generous to Unionville and that the lower contribution from Unionville would be unfair to the taxpayers in other towns. We hope that the information provided here is helpful to your deliberations and that we can agree upon the proposed terms. It is our earnest desire to provide unrestricted access to library services for the residents of Unionville that are fair to all. Please advise us no later than February 21st of 2020. So that is your town board who is to answer a yes or no. It's yes, we're going to do it, or no, we're not. So to clarify, the town board was made aware of February 21st. So any smoke and mirrors to pretend that nobody knows what that date is for everyone's illusion. It is not reality. This is in black and white. Also, Brian, thank you. Because Brian does sit on the Beekman Library Board. So we, in the town of Unionville, hold an 11% voice on the board of Beekman. And by the way, all library meetings are public meetings. You're entitled to go. You can say your piece. You could email any one of the library board members. And they've made that, their emails are right on the website. They've made it very public. But for only a 9% monetary contribution towards the budget in Beekman, we get an 11% voice. And I thank Brian for being here because I didn't know I was actually going to have a visual. In Millbrook, it was, up until this past year, it was an 8% voice for 14% monetary cost. The difference of that change is based upon the number of board members they have, the trustees, and based upon the fact that their budget is much lower, they have a trust, which gives them money in different ways. And just to clarify, because I am well aware that Supervisor Moss tells people that this $77,000 is 4.2% of the tax levy. Well, unless you're a mathematician, I'm going to make that really simple. Who cares about the levy? $77,935 is 0.03 of this year's town budget, not including highway.
I already introduced myself, so I just want to go a little bit further with the library. There's other things that came to mind that I don't know if you guys think about. I don't know if you're even library goers. I don't understand why this bill just isn't being paid. You just agreed to have all bills paid. This was a bill that everybody voted on. We all said yes in the town. Majority rules. That's how we vote. That's how you guys got here. Why is this not being paid? Okay, we have people that go to libraries that never use their card. I've done it a million times. I walk in, I help the libraries. My kids hang out with other kids in the libraries. This is so important to our community, all of our local libraries. I don't know why this isn't being paid. I don't know if it's a personal thing, if people are against libraries, but you're in the place because we have put you there, okay? So you have to do what we voted on. We said yes to this. So it's really not your decision. We already made the decision. You are our voice. That's about it.
other thing now.
Anybody else?
January, Tillman Shaughnessy Road still. And thank you, Mr. Katie, for getting a lot of the holes filled. January 16th, agenda stated that the first meeting, the working meeting in February would be February 6th. So I was here at 7:21 and the board wasn't here. Nobody was here. There were lights on, but no one was here. I went home, thought maybe I read the calendar wrong. My son said no. He looked on, tell him how good I am on the computer.
Excellent.
She saw.
Order myself.
She tried. Again, a library thing. She tries to teach people. Dead. I can't do it. The machine dies when I touch it. My son turned his machine on and found that the meeting had been changed to the 5th instead of the 6th. Now, I'm probably the only person in the whole town who would have been impacted by this, but why was the meeting changed? Normally, the meetings are Thursday and Thursday.
There was a conflict, and we posted the change,
Yeah.
you know, about 2 weeks in advance of the
2
meeting.
weeks in advance.
It goes on the website,
What
on
was-
legal notices.
Yeah, well, I don't get that, but what was the conflict about?
There were 3 or 4 people that couldn't make that night, board members that couldn't make it because of some other conflicts, so we noticed it legally by putting it on the website, and our clerk noticed everybody, and that's all in there. And you have to look on, you should always look on legal notices, because if we make any changes.
Yeah, but I don't even know how to turn the machine on, so neither here nor there.
You usually call every day to find out.
No, I don't call every day. Come on, I have other things to do.
The day of the meeting, or the day of that week, you usually talk to the clerk.
Okay, it's on me then. I'm going to call
Busy
now.
that week.
I'll call from now. But if I had called on Thursday, the meeting would have been the night before.
Usually you call
Excuse
on
me.
Monday.
Now, somebody said something.
It's moving, so what is it you want to?
Somebody said something about a caucus, that there was a Republican caucus that you all had to attend.
I did not attend the caucus.
I wonder if my
Do
son...
you have something you want to share?
Yeah, I
Would you
want to
like to
know
share?
if indeed there was a caucus, why that would have taken precedence, a caucus on the Thursday.
So this is not a Q&A, but if you've got something to say, we'd like to hear it. We
Well,
really would.
I'm saying it, and you're butting in.
Well, you're asking questions, but please say what you'd like to say.
I'm stating that,
Okay.
in my view, a caucus does not take precedence over a town board meeting, and it's long established
Duly noted.
town board meeting.
Do you have anything else on your mind that you would like to
I have a
say?
lot, Betsy.
Anything else?
I'll stop for now,
Okay.
but more will be coming.
Okay.
I'm not taking weeks and weeks off.
Thank you very much. Is anybody
Pay
else
the
have
bill.
anything?
Well, I'll make a motion, we close the public portion.
Okay. Second? All in favor? All right.
And I will make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
That's, it's funny, you said close the